Welcome, data enthusiasts. We are Zuma, the recruitment consultancy focused 100% on data tech professionals in the Berlin region. And this is our podcast, Data for Good, connecting you with all things data. Today, we're joined by Delia Amarandei. She is team lead of product analytics at Aviv Group. Aviv Group is one of Europe's largest real estate tech or prop tech companies, and one of their German brands that you might recognize, or two of them, would be Immowelt and Immonet. Delia, did I get that right?
That's right. Thank you, Joseph, for inviting me to your broadcast. I'm really happy to be here today speaking to you.
Great. And how's it going today?
Very good. It's going towards the end of the day, so yes, I'm. I guess it's a good vibe.
Good vibe, yeah, totally. And today, I believe you are going to give us an overview or a helping hand on how product analytics or product analysts and product people generally can get the most from product analytics. Is that right?
That's right. I just want to put in the spotlight the product analysts. So maybe I can start with a bit of my journey of getting here, coming to this point. So I would say that this was not such a broad term, like when I started my career, more or less 10 years ago. So I knew about analytics, of course. My first role was also like a bit into that direction. I would say more on the operational side. Mm-hmm. But I remember back then what we were calling the analysts doing kind of, this kind of analysis and reporting. They were more referred to as BI analysts and business analysts. So kind of a mixture of both. Of course, we had digital web analyst and product analytics. We had it since a long time, but I would say that's more for developed companies, like mature companies in terms of tech. And I guess I would say 10 years later, I think this is still the case. I would say that the big companies, the big players, acknowledge the importance of developing an analytics team, creating and developing. However, I think the more traditional companies or the smaller companies are maybe a bit stuck here. So I guess this is what I would like to bring to light today, why in a digital world, it's very important to have a product analytics team. And also especially in prop tech, because of course, we moved fully digital. So I don't think many people are still looking for their future home through newspapers. I guess they still are, but the majority of us are aware of these websites that exist and why it's important to have us there. We'll find out in the next couple of minutes.
Awesome. Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks for giving us that quick overview as to you and how you've got where you are, and recognizing the difference between how product analytics is viewed at scale and small scale. We recognize that product analytics is about analyzing how our users or customers interact with your products. Let's put that in the context of prop tech. So what is product analytics for prop tech?
So we are very much focused on the product that we are delivering to our customers, and very much on their experience and on their journey navigating. And specifically for prop tech, of course, there are some things that are very much focused on that, but I would say more or less the idea is the same. So we want to offer a smooth experience. We want our customers to find fast their ideal home to rent or to buy, and we want to make sure that their transition through this funnel it's going as expected. So I would say how we come into picture here. We are working very close together with a product development team in order to identify ways of improving this customer experience in general, and to make sure also that we are competitive on the market. So because of course we have a lot of different other companies that are they have the same goal to provide the same customers with the best experiences. So we just try to make sure that we stay on top of the game. So we are collaborating, not like together with the product development team, which is part of which are product managers, but also, for example, developers, UX research. So I think all of these components are essential. And I think we are kind of also a central piece of it, right? Because we should, and we are involved in each of the product development steps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, super. Real estate, huge global industry, lots of competition. Product analytics can be the difference between companies being successful or not. To the first point that you made about working with the product development teams, just to be clear, what is the product development team developing? When you talk about doing the analysis for them, break that down or define that for us.
Sure. So for example, a product is basically an application, right? So when I'm saying product is an application, and in our case, it's the platform which we offer to our customers to find and filter, research, identify where their potential new home might be. And of course, this application as a whole, it's compounded out of different products that we are focusing in. So for example, one of them is the entry point. So when the user first opens the app, or when the user first navigates on our websites through desktop. So like, what do they see there? Is it of interest for them? Are the navigation buttons in the most findable places for them? Are they experiencing a smooth transition from the initial contact with our product to the final point, so to the what we call the conversion, when they are actually contacting, for example, contacting or receiving a message from the buyer or from the seller. So I would say we can deconstruct it into different products. So when you say product, can be anything, can be like improving the login page, for example. So, or can be landing on the homepage and improving that experience there. So I would say we are very much focused on this, on the customer journey and their experience. And that's what we are like aiming to. So I would say here, for example, to better understand how a difference would be between us and, for example, a business analyst, I would say a business analyst is much more interested in how are we, for example, making revenue, how can we have all these initiatives to bring us closer to a more profitable state of the company, where we are, of course, we already assume through all of our initiatives, we make our customers happy. And of course, this is how we also lead the revenue. But of course, our main goal is to attract and retain those customers.
Thanks.
And
sorry if I interrupted.
No, that was...
That was it. Okay, super. Thanks for giving us that overview. When you talked about the entry point or the landing pages, I thought about UX and UI designers and developers and how they might often use intuition to figure out where a button is best placed. But it is actually product analytics that's going to tell us how, when, what, where, who is using the product. And I think that's one of the key differentiators between other teams' functions and product analytics. If we look at how you see product analytics teams as a team leader, how do you believe product analysts should serve different teams? What should they be there to do?
So I think an ideal setup is where we are basically fully included into the product development team. So where we are, because I think everybody's role is an important component to that. And I feel that like we should just come closer to the product, of course. And how I would say it's like, of course, creating a culture of data focused, where we make sure that all the decisions, like, doesn't matter if it's on the more technical side or if it is on the UX side, are data driven. Because I don't think intuition, to be honest, these days is used anymore, at least not in leading companies. I think, and this is what I would say differentiates like a company that is surviving and thriving, in like compared to a company that is slowly fading away, because it's of course you can just copy from the competition the best in practice, but you also want to invent and kind of take over the market and be the leader. And for that, you need to, of course, experiment a lot. You need to know your data. You need to know your customers. And knowing your customers, of course, you can have like users research and so on. But I think through the data, you can really know most of your customers, and you can cover the big majority. And
Right. That's great.
The ideal setup would be that we are, of course, working very close together with it. I think in a lot of companies, we are sometimes not really a priority when it comes to budget. So we are kind of, I would say, moved a bit to in the background. But I think if this is the case, the company should still try to kind of bring analytics closer to the product decisions. So even if you do not have dedicated capacity for that, so if you do not have dedicated product analysts who can support, at least make sure you build a bridge, for example, between maybe you have some BI analytics, maybe you have some business analytics. So make sure that you somehow connect the teams, and so that at least from the analytics side, it can also have an impact on the product decision. Because I guess this is where we are the analytics team that can actually directly impact the product and how it evolves and how we are like changing it. And this is like maybe an issue for a company who's not prioritizing this resource because there's a lot of disconnection there, right? If you have, like I mentioned at the beginning, you have the business analysts just focusing a lot on revenue, but they are not really focusing on how are we going to improve our customer experience, right? We're just we just want to make them of course pay us for our product, but this can only be achieved if we offer the best product possible.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, the general and the specific. You mentioned a couple of things about being fully included in product development and making that bridge and being connected. Do you believe that product analysts, businesses can get the most from product analysts by them being embedded within product teams or sales teams, or keep them centralized, or something in between?
This is like the chicken and the egg problem, I would say. You always, and it's not only for product analysts, right? We have now the monolith versus the microservices question, right? So like we hear also now some companies going back to the monolith, or of course that's more technical topic that I'm also not fully sure of, but it's kind of the same question for us. Like how do we excel? In which environment do we excel? Is it in when we work closer together, like us analytics team and we share knowledge and we learn from each other, we build on top of each other? Or is it when we are working much closer to the product with the product manager and the development team? I would say that it's kind of, there are trade-offs in both situations. And I've been, like, I would say maybe more or less I've experienced both situations. And I think you just need to find the right balance. Of course, you are only one person and you have like this amount of hours that you can work per week. So you just need to make sure that you have, of course, the important aspects of the product covered, but you also need to make sure, from the team lead perspective, I need to make sure for my team that they also have the time to collaborate with each other, the time to learn from each other. And this is, of course, time that you are not spending with the development team. So it's, I would say it's a tricky quest to find the right balance here. Because we are,
because we are
always split between these two. And yes,
right. I recognize the kind of the challenges there, and I recognize the benefits in both. So maybe going somewhat hybrid along the path is a good way. Maybe it also depends on the seniority of the analysts in your team. You know, if a lot of learning is required, if you have a really junior team, then maybe it's better for them to be more centralized as opposed to embedded in a product team. With you being a product analytics team lead, how do you believe product analysts should, really practically speaking, how should they work with product team members?
I guess depends a lot on how the product team, how mature is the product team when it comes to data, because I think we need to be very proactive. So we need to make sure we are included in the right meetings, to make sure we are included in the product decisions, and to make sure we are prepared ahead. So to make sure that we can validate with clear facts the points that we're bringing, the hypothesis that we're testing, the experiments that we want to conduct. So we need to make sure that there's trust in the data that we're providing. And I think once this kind of trust is established with the rest of the team, I think this is when the magic happens, when the collaboration is starting to be very strong. So they trust us to bring up ideas. So that's when we start having a voice, and that's when we can also like really propose changes that we might do, or propose ideas. Of course, for all this, we need to have time to get there. So I think from my experience so far, and I've been working also quite mature companies, but still it's where a lot of I would say a basic layer of providing the main KPIs or metrics was missing. So I think that's also where the distrust a bit in the data starts with, because like we cannot answer sometimes basic questions, but we want to be seen as I would say as advanced partner in decision making, like taking complex decisions. So I think this is where we need to still build up a bit, and to make, so this is how we can start to come closer to the product development team, to feel like we are part of the team, right? Because I also feel in a lot of cases they don't really see us integrated there. They see us as a resource, or like you would normally operational team. Like you normally also see IT support, right? If your computer breaks, you're gonna write. If
like
you
a
release
support service to the business.
Exactly. So this is why I think we still have a lot of work to do to become, and I think this is how we can achieve that, and this is how we can feel then that we are part of the team and we are an enabler for the data and for the rest of the team.
I say. So there's a strong message about give it time and build trust, So product analysts should focus on this, giving it time to build trust. Maybe operational teams or product teams should recognize that where the data is missing, to your point, then it doesn't help to enable a product analytics team, and they certainly shouldn't be blamed for that lack of data. I would suggest that you guys communicating strongly about this would help. You also mentioned about being included in meetings and data-driven decisions and also experiments. If we take that being included to the next level, leading, how can product analysts lead those conversations on a practical day-to-day basis? If the data is strong, trust is being built, how can they really lead those conversations?
Like, aside from the meetings, of course, that's more clear, initiating discussions on different topics. I would say that there's a lot of ways to analyze data, and there's a lot of methods out there, a lot of resources, right? So basically, I think we need to we should be doing our research ahead, and we should for these propositions that we have, and we should. So normally you would start with digging through the data, understanding what is, like, assuming everything is clean, the data is clean, everything is in the right place. So I would say we understand already the product. We are like, let's assume we're in a mature phase. We understand the product, we understand where we're going, and we want to disrupt. Basically, we want to provide our customers that everybody's product aim, to give them what they don't even think they need, and then they love it. So basically, how would we do that? We would like formulate like hypothesis. We would see like where this direction. At the beginning, I think it's a lot of abstract that you have to overcome, and then start answering these questions with data. And this is where you start finding this interesting insights. And once we identify some interesting insights or some interesting propositions, we can then discuss with the rest of the team, and the ideas are also emerging. And I think it's a lot of accent should be on collaboration, right? We are not like the ones who are going to drive the product, right? No, this is not the case. It should be definitely collaboration, because of course you also have the technical implementation aspect. Is this even possible? Like, we can go to the moon and back, but maybe there's no solution yet on the market for that, or maybe this is not possible in the current context. So I think, but usually this is how we would start, right? And this is what actually the reason that I wanted to have this conversation today with you, is that I feel a lot of our time is unfortunately not spent here. Is a lot of our time is actually building up that layer of data that should have been there already, right? As you mentioned, that we, I guess I'm not saying that we should be brought into the product development. We should definitely be from the beginning there, but we just need the right resources. I think in this sense, we are a bit closer to the data scientists. Of course, they are more skilled on the software developing side, and also on the data preparation side. But however, this is also not in their, it should not be in their daily tasks. And it goes the same for us. We invest a lot of resources on, and I'm not saying preparing the data, understanding the data. This is for us normal day-to-day job, but we are like preparing all these layers of reporting that normally should be already there and should be done by other teams. For example, maybe the more like data engineering teams or analytics engineering, what we have these days. And I guess we invest, I think it's a lot of expectations from our side on the technical part, which is fair to do so, because of course we need certain skills to apply also like statistics, and of course you need like to know certain tools to do these manipulations. However, I think the expectations go a bit beyond what we can, and I think more of our efforts should be actually invested in understanding the product and just focusing more on that and not so much on making sure that the data is clean and making sure that the data is understandable or providing the basic reporting layer that normally should be done in collaboration with other teams. So this is something I wanted to bring and to emphasize in this talk with you today, because I feel, but I think it's the case for all data roles.
I hear it a lot. I hear it a lot. I do hear product analysts and team leaders talk about how there are misunderstandings about what their function is and how they're viewed, excuse me, more as a support function rather than doing the more strategic work, which is what you're alluding to, the real power of product analytics. I wonder, team leaders and above team leaders, what can these stakeholders do to allow product analytics teams to be more strategic and less transactional, less support focused?
Yes, that's that's a good question. I think they should be, and I think this is one of their main goals, is first enable us to have the right tools and have the right the right access to the data, and then they should be I would say pushing and advocating for us and for our role and trying to make the whole company aware of it. And I think this is already happening. I think it takes a bit time on convincing the rest of the company of the resources that we need. And but yeah, I would say definitely on the leadership level related to product analytics, we need. That's also something that I feel we have. Like also in the organizational structure of this role, right? How also reading articles, what other people's opinion is like, okay, you're a senior product analyst, then you kind of, okay, maybe now there's principal, and like, okay, great, I can be, or staff, I can be principal, but then kind of the role kind of all heads back to going into product management, which is also great. However, I feel like most of the people who are in product management are very focused on the product development aspects, and I don't feel like a lot of them are very data driven. So I think that yes, I think we definitely need on higher level of leadership, we need people with a more analytical background so that they understand the challenges that we're facing, so that they are able to to kind of fight for us to make sure that our struggles are understood by the rest of the company, and this is how we also get the resources, the right resources, right? So I would say this is definitely something that I hope will change in the future. So I mean, sometimes we are also just like directly under IT or something like that, where we are completely overseen. So in a big organization, I think it's good if we have our own kind of structure, like our own department where we can be like where we can also grow, right? And
it's seldom now that I see product analytics teams under IT. I think the evolution is happening in the right way, maybe slower than you'd hope. So you just talked about having the right tools, having access to the right data, having leadership advocate for product analytics. You also talked about product managers having a greater focus on data as opposed to focusing only on product development. Those are things that would help, and those are things that leadership can do practically to move product analytics forward. When you mentioned tools, what would be the right tools for product analytics, product analysts to deliver greater value to the business?
Well, there's a couple of them, assuming we already have the data accessed, right? So I think these days, most of the companies already have a data lake. And usually you have like Athena or Presto on top. And this is like, of course, here comes the one of the most important skills. It's like SQL, that to be able to extract this data, because even if the data is already aggregated and it's clean, and you still need to manipulate it. So I think it kind of starts here and also what's great about data lake, it offers you all possible data that you could imagine, because of course BI team can only prepare so much data. So usually it's the main metrics and KPIs relevant for the whole company, but I would say we need access to much more details that are relevant for us. So I think that's already great. Of course, here is where we also usually have access to all the tracking related data that can be brought up from different other tools. So I think having a deep understanding of how specifically how tracking data works, and specifically how you're able to access this data, I think it's essential in the role. And then we have, I would say, another very important one would be visualization. So you need, and I'm not just talking here tooling, of course, you can use Power BI, Tableau, whatever you might think, Looker Studio. And of course, some of them have their strong points there. But I think here is not really important the tool itself, because that can be learned. I think here is important to have the right skills of understanding. I mean, there are actually courses on how to visualize data. I think this is a very important skill for us, is how do we transform data into actual like understandable insights, right? Because we cannot just give the query results to the rest of the team. We need to, and of course, usually putting that into a visualization is the easiest way also for our brain to understand what is happening there. What am I looking at? If I'm looking at the table with numbers, I need time to process it. But if I see a visualization, I see the trend going up, down, it's easy. I immediately know how my product is doing. Am I going the right direction? And
a product analyst to talk through that as well, not just to show it, but and that's a skill in itself, right? The whole communication side.
I would say yes, like making exactly I wanted to be also my next point, because it's a lot of tooling here, but I would say visualization is also a skill, a hard skill like itself, a bit of goes also, I would say, touches a bit also more artistic, because you need to know how to combine, how to visualize this data, what would make more sense. But I think this is also an easy to achieve skill. And on top of all of this is, as you mentioned, how to translate all of these findings into actually actionable insights. So I think this is like, I just walked you a bit through the process of finding these insights, but our main goal and end goal is to give a clear recommendation. Like, okay, I looked through the data and I checked how our customers are reacting to this new release, let's say. And these are my recommendations. These are the next steps that we should be taking. And of course, we can then discuss further, and then we can translate those recommendations also into technical requirements. I guess this is a product manager's job, and we can then move forward, and then we can experiment, and so on. So I think these are the most important. Of course, ideally, not only these skills. So I think Python or R are very important programming skills for product analysts. But here, I think we're talking about on a more senior expectations. So I think these are skills that are essential to actually go on the more advanced analytics side and be able to go on a deeper level on the data, and not just simple numbers. But even simple numbers are sometimes good enough. Sometimes even those are missing. So I would see those are important skills. Of course, we also need data manipulation skills. Sometimes we do not have, but this is the part where I mentioned before, we do not really have enough help to create those, for example, layers of data that we might need further for our visualization, because in a prop tech company, we are talking about billions of records, right? So it's not easy to manipulate all that, like if you do not have the right processing tools for it. So if you do not if you do not have if you're not like able to work in with a database, or working on with a data lake or with a query engine, of course it's going to be hard to process all that data.
Understood. Thanks. So the right tools, in summary, data lake, have it there.
Any data, like it can be also database and so on, but I feel like in the data lake it's usually where you can include a lot of the customer data, right? So when we're talking about a big platform like the brands that we have at Aviv, as I said, we have like many customers coming on our platform each day, so we need all the details for their journey, like which pages did they navigate it through, and sometimes we know storing that in a database can be quite expensive, so that's why the data lake comes in. It's more about
so we're looking at the optimal here. So a data lake, ideally having strong SQL development skills, having access to tracking data, having access on a basic level to visualization tools, but also
I would say not basic, but I would say quite like it should be quite more on the advanced side. You mean on a basic visualization tool?
Yeah, or like Looker, Tableau, Power BI, for example, standard tools, but then also the skills to visualize and translate them for your customers. And then on a more advanced level, you talked about Python and R. I wonder, to go back to a point you made at the very beginning about trust. Building trust is also about building credibility. From building credibility comes some wins. So I wonder what kind of quicker, or dare I say easier, wins can product analysts achieve to build credibility, to build trust. If it's an early team, immature team, what things can they do to, that are quantifiable, to build credibility, to build trust?
Do you have something particular in mind? I feel you're going already in a direction. I feel that I would say, of course, making sure that the rest of the team also can have access to this data. They can also double check it themselves. Like, for example, most of developers, they have these skills. They know they definitely can do SQL and check some numbers. So I would say kind of involved for me, also making sure that they can also get access to the data themselves. So of course, for that we need
customers, like product team.
But our colleagues, yes, in the product team, so that we can make sure that they also have access to this data that we're preparing. So not only just getting the insights directly from us. So this is how kind of a way to trust. The trust is built.
Yeah.
And also like a clear, I would say, clear description of the process that we're taking to get there. So like when for example, we're presenting an analysis, like we always need to make sure like to present clearly, state what's the purpose of this analysis, what are we trying to achieve with it, and then also all the details that we use. What did we consider? What customer segment did we consider? What sample of the data did we use, and how did we calculate that? So I think it depends a lot on your audience, but I would say in this product development teams, it's a lot more tech people. So I think it's safe there to go into more details so that they understand. And I think that's also the beauty of us, product analytics, that we work with a lot of people more on the technical side. So I think that it's important for us to convert the message to make it understandable. But on the other side, it's not like I would say it is for other roles. Like I mentioned, the business analyst, they really need to make it simple, like make it very simple and very clear. Sometimes we can go a bit more technical and say, how did we use how, like, for example, even as detail as, okay, we created a new function to do this and this. And so I think it's that's also nice, right, to try to come closer to these different profiles in the team, and to that then they can also kind of see you that, oh, okay, like they also know how to work with Python, and like us, if they would see us, and then they would feel like, you know, a little bit closer. They would not see us as, oh, okay, the analysts,
the support team.
Whatever they are doing, but they are the analysts, and yes, they're gonna build some. That's also another misconception, that we're just building dashboards and KPIs, right? So we're not only doing that. So that's I think that's how you can make a team trust you. And of course, by always providing, of course, in product analytics, I think when you're analyzing like a lot of volumes of data, you're not always going to be super precise. So because you're like creating a lot of hypotheses, right? So the hypotheses are sometimes going to be statistically verified or not, but of course we're not working with exact numbers. So I think that's how you can get the team on board to trust your insights, and to trust, in the end, to trust us and the data.
Understood. I respect that, and particularly the points about giving access to your customers, your internal customers or stakeholders, access to that data, and communicating how you came about these findings, and giving a full breakdown as to the process to which you did. Okay, I'm conscious of time. That is all we've got time for today. I wonder if you've got any final pieces of advice for product analysts going about their work.
I would say to keep going, keep doing the good work, even though we are facing many challenges. But I think the industry is changing, as you said at the beginning, is changing at a very fast pace. And I think I think our role will become more and more essential. And I think, to be honest, all analysts that I know, we are here because we are very passionate about it. And I think also for people who are thinking about joining it I've seen a lot of people going from various other areas or various other analytics fields. They are coming here because they really feel that we have an impact. And this is something that I can totally confirm. So you are much closer to the customers. And I think this gives a great satisfaction. And yes, I think despite all these challenges that we have, we just need to keep fighting and keep going and keep raising awareness, and just building up these relationships, and that will eventually help us build great products for our customers.
Fantastic. I love your passion and your dedication to this.
Thank you.
All right. Really good to speak to you today, Delia. Thanks very much for sharing your opinions, your views, your insights. I'm sure that'll be really helpful, and certainly help to advocate for product analytics teams.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for inviting me today. It was a pleasure speaking to you, as always.